Politburo. If you are over 40, most likely you know what Politburo is. The word long forgotten, but once you hear it, you understand what people talk about. Politburo was the top body of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. The top dogs, the cream of the crop. The communists who climbed onto the very, very, very top and no place to climb any higher. The toppest position anyone could reach at the Communist Party of the USSR to become the member of Politburo. There were just a handful of members, and they decided everything in the USSR. They were the ultimate decision makers. It is a popular belief that the head of the USSR, the General Secretary, was the biggest decision maker. He was merely a member of the group. And decisions were made in that group. And the group was Politburo. So, if you're over 40, most likely you have heard this before. Well, I still remember some of the people in Politburo. Kapitonov, Dolgih, Stroev, Gorbachev, Shevardnadze, Romanov. How do I know? It's been 40 years. Because that's how we were being indoctrinated as kids in the USSR. Because when I was 5 years old, preschool, I heard these names 3 times a day on TV, in newspapers. My parents or my grandparents would read newspapers, and in the radio. I still remember the names. Well, guess what happened to Politburo? It fell apart. One day in 1991, the entire country fell apart, and Politburo fell apart along with the country. Politburo was cancelled. It ceased to exist. Those members of Politburo, all powerful, the powerhouses, the mightiest, the doers of the Communist Party. Everyone feared them. Those people were in the 60s. I think Gorbachev was the youngest and he was in his 50s. But most were in the 60s, mid 60s, early 60s, and they simply were gone. They sank into the oblivion. Or so I thought. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where I give you news and updates about what's happening in Russia, my takes, my views, the news I found interesting and worthy to be given to you. The usual Russia explained by the unusual Russian. This is what Inside Russia is about. All day long today, I am feeling foolish. No, not foolish. Stupid. It's like a mix of being foolish, stupid, slow, and shocked. Without further ado, let's jump into the... I never say that, but today I'm telling you, watch my stream until the end. Because this is the bomb. Now, among those top dogs, among those the powerhouse Politburo people, were a few. And of course, it's Mikhail Gorbachev. He was kind of a newcomer, and then he kind of shot to the stars in 1985. This is the only member of Politburo that I actually like. But there were others. They were some old-timers, such as Dolgih, body of Brezhnev. Brezhnev! When I was 5 years old, Brezhnev died. okay? And then he died of very old age. Nikolai Ryzhkov, I remember, name was everywhere. And you know what? Let me tell you more about this fella, Nikolai Ryzhkov. He was born in 1929. He would be 93 years old today. In 1956, when my father was 3 years old, Nikolai Ryzhkov joined the Communist Party of the USSR. He became the member. He became the commie. He sold his soul to the devil. My father was just 3 years old. 1 year before I was born, he became the deputy minister of the heavy machinery industry, the most important industry in the USSR. 1 year before I was born, he was already on the way to becoming the top dog. He was becoming the powerhouse. In 1979, when I was 3 years old, he became the first deputy of the head of Gosplan. Gosplan was the evil organization that tried to plan everything, all needs, spendings, and revenues of every Russian person and every Russian enterprise, every Soviet enterprise. Gosplan was... and Nikolai Ryzhkov was first deputy of Gosplan. Usually the head is a political person, the public person, and the first deputy does all the work. So Nikolai Ryzhkov did all the work. And he had education for that. He was a smart, intelligent man. Strong-willed, no question about that. In 1981, he became the member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party. That's the second most important body where there are more people. And he became the secretary of the Central Committee. In 1985, he made the top position. He became the member of Politburo, one of the big boys. His name started appearing everywhere, in every school, in every university, in every hospital, at every enterprise director's office, everywhere. I still remember picture of how Ryzhkov looked like when he was younger. I think he was in mid-50s. Actually, brilliant guy. I give it to him. Then the Soviet Union disintegrated in 1991, overnight. And obviously people weren't ready for that, the ruling people, the Politburo boys, they were in shock, and the new country was born. In the old country, the USSR was out of the door. Well, the Politburo boys disappeared. They sank into the oblivion. And that was about the last time when I heard Politburo until recently. Why bother? I mean, what happened in the past should stay in the past. Politburo dead? Great. Rest in peace or whatever, rest in pain. We had our own life, new life. We had opportunities. We had to make living. We had to build careers. Political structure of a country completely changed. The way the country was governed was completely changed. Everything was new. Politburo was out of the door. The old guys sank into the oblivion. Well, so I thought. These days, I dig deep into the news every single day because I want to stay on top of things happening in Russia. This is Inside Russia channel, after all. I try not to miss anything. And was a very interesting news this morning. A Russian senator of the upper chamber of Russian parliament, Nikolai Ryzhkov, was in the news. He made a statement. It's funny, right? Nikolai Ryzhkov, I thought, I should look this guy up. perhaps this is some kind of a relative. It means that the daddy kind of gave help to his son or grandson, and then that guy became a politician in Russia. So when I Googled this guy, my friends, that's the same Ryzhkov. The guy not only alive, he's actually quite well, he's healthy, he's 93 years old, and he has been in the Russian politics on the very top for past 32 years. 32 years. The member of Politburo. I could not believe it at first. Then, well, what is there not to believe? It's a fact. Didn't make me feel good. It just did not make me feel good. It's absolutely insane, my friends. The guy who was running us in the USSR like a bunch of sheep. The guy who lied to us, who was the member of the Communist Party, hardcore communist, who became the member of the Communist Party when, applied when Stalin was still alive. Imagine that. Soon after my father was born, he made a brilliant career in Soviet Union. You know, he made this. You couldn't make a brilliant career not by being honest. You had to lie to people. You had to lie to everyone, because that's what Communist Party was all about. And this same guy, the very same guy, is still in charge. It's like I have a feeling. First of all, I'm hurt. I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed by myself because I was foolish enough not to learn about this very important things. Okay, but later on that. I also feel enlightened because I start understanding things. I start understanding what they're pushing the USSR back. Anyway, later on that, let me tell you about this Ryzhkov guy. What happened to him after 91? Well, like I said, he was a top communist, the top dog, the member of Politburo. My God. The communist. He hated the West. He thought of the West as the enemies. He made public speeches. In 91, he all of a sudden became capitalist. He started saying capitalism was very good. He was made one of the top heads, top managers of one of Russia's largest banks. So he started making money. That is called corruption in normal world, and that's called abuse of power. But hey, not in Russia in the 90s. So he was in charge of an association of industrial companies of Russia for a couple years. And in 1995, he became the senator of a lower house of the lower chamber of Russian parliament. A senator, politician, again. It gets better. In 2003, he was made the senator, the member of the upper house of Russian parliament, upper chamber. And he's been serving until today. 2003 to 2022, 19 years. The guy is 93 years old. So for 35 years, he was a communist, hardcore communist. He did a fantastic career in the USSR. Commie. And then for 32 years, he made a career perhaps even more brilliant in the capitalist Russia. And he's been residing on the very top for the last 19 years, telling us what to do, making laws, lobbying laws, lobbying decisions, advising and things like that. I don't blame the guy. I think he thinks of himself as the luckiest and smartest guy in the world, because you know what he's doing right now? He's probably sitting there and laughing his butt off. He's laughing at us and he's thinking to himself, look at these suckers. They let me run them for the 35 years in the USSR. They did the same thing in Russia for 32 years. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. What can be better than that? The member of Politburo and a Russian senator, prominent senator. Oh my God, you know. And we are suckers. We are suckers because we should have known better. We should have known better. We should have ostracized these people. We shouldn't have let them just vanish, as I thought, sink into the oblivion. Yeah, right. Member of Politburo would never sink into the oblivion. If he gets on top, he possesses certain qualities that they do not let him sink into oblivion ever, okay? He would be the last person to do that. Something inside of me, a little bell rang. I figured, hey, perhaps he's not the only one. What happened to the other boys? The big bad boys, the Politburo members. I gotta research them. 19 were alive very recently, and all are playing or were playing a very serious role in governing Russian state. Remember I told you about the powerhouse Vladimir Dolgikh, the very good friend of Leonid Brezhnev from the 70s, the powerhouse of the 70s. Well, guess what? He was the member of Politburo. Well, he became the senator. First, the lower chamber of Russian parliament, and then he was made the member of the upper chamber of Russian parliament. And he died 2 years, in 2020, 2 years ago, at the age of 96. The powerhouse of Politburo in the USSR turned into powerhouse in Russia. Mikhail Gorbachev, you know his story. He was the member of Politburo. He was nominated to be on the very top, but still he was part of the group. He died a few months ago. Yegor Ligachev, 99 years old, another powerhouse, died in 2021. Russian senator. He never quit politics. He always played a major role in the USSR, Politburo, then in Russia. Nazarbayev, until very recently, the president of Kazakhstan. He's very well, right now he's alive, and he's next door in Kazakhstan. President, not only he was shaping the fate of Kazakhstan, but Kazakhstan is actually a world player, so Nazarbayev was playing a role in the world politics, in the geopolitics. Not a bad guy, actually. I like him. At least I think he was better than the others. All right. Islam Karimov, another member of Politburo, the president of Uzbekistan from 1991 to 2016 when he died of a heart attack or a stroke. What can I say? Luchinsky, he's 80 years old, another member of Politburo, and he's the head of Strategical Research Foundation. Surprise, surprise. He's right there on the top. Polaskov, 85 years old. One of the leaders of current Communist Party. Yes, there is a Communist Party. It's different from what it used to be, but Polaskov is involved deeply into the Communist Party. Surprise, surprise. Nothing really surprises me anymore, let me tell you. Yegor Stroyev, 83 years old, was a governor of one of the provinces, Oryol province. And then he became the senator of the upper chamber of Russian parliament. All the members of Politburo became right into the parliament to the very top, upper chamber, the Senate equivalent of the United States. And he quit. He worked until 2014, my friends, 15 years after the demise of the USSR. Zasohov, 86 years old, Russian senator of both chambers, lower and upper chambers of Russian parliament. N. Arno Sillari, 76 years old, an Estonian, used to be the communist #1, the first secretary of Estonian Communist Party. Well, guess what? He became senator in Estonia, and now he's a businessman, European, respected businessman, member of Politburo. Yep. Prokofiev, 81 years old, a wealthy and famous businessman in Russia, member of Politburo, communist, doing business, nice, huh? Surkov, 74 years old, Russia's lower chamber of parliament senator. And there are actually some more. Just the list goes and goes on and on. My friends, let me tell you, I've seen many things in my life. I've heard of many things, and some things are shocking, but this was one of the most shocking things for me to learn. You see, until recently, I was like blind. I'm not a simpleton. I went to 2 universities. I have some post-higher education. I did continuous education quite a bit. I had few of companies I started and I sold. A couple were success, one I broke even, one was failure. That's also a very good experience. I've been there everywhere, I've done it all. I was in the corporate world for 20 years. I've been leading large groups of people. My largest company that I headed, I was the general director. I had around 1,600 employees. Okay, so I am not simpleton. My IQ is high. I'm an intelligent guy, but let me tell you, I'm feeling foolish right now because I just learned things I should have known about before, but somehow I didn't pay attention. But guess what? None of the Russians, well, shouldn't say none, but very few Russians are aware of the fact that the Politburo boys continued their careers into Russia and they influenced Russian government by a great deal. They have been the Russian government. My God. Very few people in Russia know that. I called my friends. They're like, Politburo? They're all gone in 91. So I thought. Told couple people, they didn't believe me. They started like, I'll get to do research. Well, we'll see tomorrow what they're going to come back with and what they're going to tell me about their results of their research. This picture about Russia is becoming clearer. It's becoming like more 3D. I understand Russia much more. Like before, I only was seeing it from one side. But now, more angles opening up for me. Now, I understand completely why there has been a push towards the USSR. Well, of course, the Politburo boys, they loved the USSR. They want the USSR back. Had I known before that the Politburo boys are still running Russia, they're still influencing Russian politics, Russian policy making, I would have thought differently. Nikolai Ryzhkov came out publicly and said, supported the war in Ukraine, said Ukraine is filled with brown plague. That's how they called fascism, by the way, brown plague. Nikolai Ryzhkov became the communist, was lying to us, to regular Russians, for 40 years. And now he's coming out and then he's condemning Ukraine, okay? He's doing the same thing he knows how to do best. No wonder they all want to back to the USSR. And you know what? I'm not so sure anymore if Putin is running the show. If Politburo boys are on the back somewhere lurking in the shadows, I'm not so sure. You know, I'm very serious. I don't. Who makes the decisions? Who are the puppet masters now? Oh, yeah. I'm feeling foolish, absolutely foolish, and I think that a lot of people in Russia all Russians should be feeling foolish as well, because look what happened. Instead of letting Politburo boys get what they deserved, the top dogs, punishing them by putting them on trial, lustrating them, forbidding them to ever again hold a public position in the new country. Instead of sending them to the North Pole to live for the rest of their lives in isolation with the white bears, polar bears, instead of just making everyone know what they had done for Russia, for the Soviet Union, for our Russian people, how they were lying us and everything. Instead, we just let them go. And we left them unchecked. And look what they have done. They were back. Until recently, until they actually started dying of old age. I mean, 90s, 96, 93 and everything, and they still held positions. They still had enough energy. Imagine their drive for power. Oh, I would like to finish the stream by telling you this. If you do action, you get some result. If you continue doing the same action, but expect a different result, then you're crazy. This is what we have been doing in Russia. We were expecting a different result for our lives in the new Russia. Result much better than the USSR. Life much better than we had in the USSR. But we kept on doing the same thing, and we still keep doing on the same thing. I'll rephrase a little bit. We still have the same people in charge who do their very same thing, because people don't change. And we expect different results from these people. This is madness. Thank you so very much for coming. This has been my message. I said one. I am, again, feeling foolish, feeling ashamed, feeling like I'm slow. Can't believe it happened. And it wasn't a secret, you see. Like, no one was hiding this facts about the Politburo boys holding public positions and being businessmen and politicians. It's not a secret. It's out there in the public. It's just not advertised. It's not pushed into the informational space, and people don't care, So that's why I'm feeling foolish. This knowledge was available to me, and I did not somehow, it just went past me. And we are paying the price now. Ukraine is also paying the price because of that. Thank you so much for giving me a chance. I will see you all tomorrow for another message.